you?
Hi, yes. Well, I work for John Lewis, and I'm joining their sports department next month, and I really just want to get to know some of the equipment before I get started. And I could get a bit fitter as well.
That's a good idea.
Not that I need to too much, I do a bit of sport. So, no offense, but I really need to speak to someone who knows a lot about fitness, one of the fitness instructors, perhaps.
Well, I see. What's your name?
Rob.
Rob, hi, I'm Suzanne, and yes, you, by all means, speak to one of the other fitness instructors, but you could also speak to me. See, Rob, when I was British champion and captain of the Olympic team, I did manage to pick up 1 or 2 hints on fitness.
That was great.
So you see, Rob, if there's anything you want to know, just fire away.
Thanks. Look, I know this sounds a bit silly, but what exactly is fitness?
Well, it's not a silly question. It's a good question, because fitness is always relative.
Very simply, start.
Now, if you get someone who wants to be able to mow the lawn without getting out of breath, that's their definition of fitness.
That one. Especially if I just give you...
And if someone wants to be able to do 100 push-ups, they think they're not fit if they can only do 75. It's relative. And the first part of your job is to find out what your customer really needs. They might want to improve their sporting performance.
That's a little bit more complicated. I think we've got something.
Or they're coming to see you because they're getting over a medical problem, or their doctors told them to get some exercise. They might also want to just look better, or they might just want to feel better. What you shouldn't do is prejudge someone's reasons for coming to see you. Let's face it, you were wrong about my state of fitness when you first saw me, weren't you? You've got to ask questions, find out what they want to achieve, and how close they are to getting there.
Yeah, okay, I can see that, but the thing is, once I find out what they want to achieve, I need to know how best I can advise them.
You've got 2 types of exercise. Now, the first is aerobic, or cardiovascular, and the second is anaerobic, or strength.
Great. So I just need to know which piece of equipment is right for which customer. I don't want any jargon.
Well, sorry, but that's something you've got to watch out for with fitness, and that's jargon. So let's keep it simple. Your heart pumps blood through your lungs and around your body, and all of that is called your cardiovascular system. It's like your body's engine. Any activity that works that engine is called cardiovascular exercise. A 20-minute session, say, 3 times a week, will make that engine more efficient. That means it has to do less work to achieve the same result. The cardiovascular exercise can change your shape by burning off calories, but that's going to take a lot of work. Do that another 400 times, and you've burnt off a Mars bar.
400 times? There has got to be an easier way.
There is. Just simply stop eating Mars bars. But exercise is a very hard way of going about losing weight. The really important thing is that exercise gives you a greater sense of well-being, and you can't argue with that. You need oxygen for this type of exercise, which is why it's called aerobic. You know, aerobic, but the second type of exercise doesn't rely on oxygen, so it's called anaerobic exercise. These are the exercises that build strength.
Or change your shape, right? Because muscle's more dense than fat.
That's right. Strength exercises help to reduce excess fat, and they build muscles. And that's important because even though most people like to talk about how much they weigh, it's what they see in the mirror that really counts.
So, 2 types of exercise.
Correct. Now, your customers, for instance, could use cardiovascular exercises without any strength exercises, and they can still become physically fit. But it doesn't work the other way around, though. If you just use strength exercises, it can become too much for the body. A bit like a motorbike trying to pull a caravan.
So, if you want to look good and feel good, you ought to do both types of exercise.
You're a natural, Rob. Can't wait to see you work out.
Yeah, well. Anyway, next month I'm going to be faced with all these machines and all sorts of customers. I'm still unclear as to why someone would go for a rowing machine as opposed to, say, a cycle. Or, for that matter, free weights as opposed to a multi-gym.
Maybe I can help you. this is the equipment you're going to be selling to your customers.
Great. This looks interesting.
Oh, not so fast. Slow down, slow down. And Rob, it's always important to remember, before you embark on exercise, always warm up first, otherwise you might strain some muscles and even tear them. And also you must warm down at the end of exercise, because all that waste product in the muscles will leave them aching. So for really effective exercise, you should spend about 15 to 20 minutes with a heart rate of between 70 and 85% of your maximum.
And how do I work out what that is?
Ah, right. Well, what you do is your maximum heart rate is about 220 beats per minute. Now, if you minus your age, which is...
23.
So young, minus 23, which leaves you 197 beats per minute. Now, with 70 to 85% of that, that gives you 138 to 167 beats per minute. Now, if your heart rate is below that lowest number, you must work a little bit harder. If it's above the highest number, then you should just slow down a little bit and come back in when you've brought the heart rate down to the 85% mark again. Okay, now, with the warm down, you should kind of warm down with some stretches. And the way to tell if you're getting fitter is when you can bring that heart rate back down to normal in the quickest time possible.
I had no idea.
You know, Rob, you'll be surprised how many people who start exercising don't. And maybe that's an important message you should get over to your customers. Now, let's take a look at some of the other machines, Rob. Now, the cardiovascular machines copy things that people are familiar with, like stair climbing or cycling. But if they're training for a sport, it might be skiing or running. But the exercise they choose is pretty much up to them. But it's important that they're familiar with it and that it's comfortable for them. I mean, one of your customers might have a medical condition, say maybe arthritis or a joint problem, and that might need the support of a cycle seat. A stair climber, for instance, would be far too hard for them. But one of the most important things to remember, Rob, is are they going to enjoy doing it? If they don't like it, they'll get bored, and then they won't come back and buy anything else.
I noticed there's quite a few different kinds of bikes. How would I go about helping a customer make a choice?
Well, what I would do, Rob, is to get them on the bikes and let them feel the difference for themselves. So let's start with the base model and then we can move up. Right, with this particular bike, you have a small adjustment on the seat and you have a speedo, so it's a good basic machine. But with this particular model, it has a relatively small flywheel and a belt-operated brake, which can become a little bit uncomfortable as you get fitter. And as you turn that up and pedal a little bit harder, you can find that it gets a little bit jerky.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Yeah. But on this next bike, which is the next one up in the range, generally with the more upmarket bikes, they have a bigger flywheel, as you can see, and a smoother braking system. Now, also on this machine, it has an adjustable friction plate, and this works like a disc brake.
What are the dials for?
Well, these dials are really there to help you see how you're doing. And, you know, I mean, I think the further up the range you go, you get much more information. And I think that's, you know, people want that. They get motivated when they've got a certain level to reach or a target to beat, you know. Why don't you try top of the range?
Okay.
Now, as you start pedaling, I think you can feel it's got the smoothest action of all.
Yeah.
And it's got a great display. And I think while we're here, we might as well put this on your ear.
What's that for?
Would you remember we spoke earlier about the ideal heart rate?
Yes.
Well, what this is doing is it helps you to measure how fast your heart is beating. And that means you don't have to stop, get off the bike, and actually take your pulse. Now, if we program your heart rate in, there you go, if it beeps, that means, you know, if you drop below or you exceed your maximum heart rate, so it'll beep and let you know that. But I don't think that's likely with you, Rob, because you're quite fit.
That is very clever. So you can see exactly how your body's doing.
Oh, yes, it shows you everything, including your speed and the calories that you've actually burnt.
Right.
Right, Rob, we're going to step the pace up now with some rowing, so come on. Right now, Rob, There are two types of rowing machine, and this is the hydraulic version where you're pulling against two shock absorbers. Now, you're not doing that quite right. We need you to straighten your legs first and then pull with your arms so you're keeping your back straight. That's right. Now, bikes work leg muscles mainly, while rowing is good for just about every muscle group. But you do need to be pretty flexible to get down on one of these things. So it's not for everybody. Also, if it's not done properly, you can put a strain on the lower back. Yeah. Now, to adjust the tension, you simply just turn these, and these go up and down like this. That's good, Rob. You've really got the technique now. Why don't you come and try this machine? Right, Rob. Now, this machine is the flywheel version, and it's just like the cycles we were on earlier, but it's a lot smoother and it's easier to adjust. Now, I know I'm working you a bit hard here, but the one thing to remember, a good exercise period will make you slightly out of breath. But if you find that you can't talk properly anymore, you're probably overdoing it just a little bit.
Right. Why is that? Because you can't cry out for help.
Yeah.
How about the treadmill?
If you want. Right, now these machines are good for simulating walking or jogging. Now you select a speed, and then you have to keep going while the belt's turning. As well as the consoles on the machine, you can also buy accessories that help you keep track of how you're doing by measuring the heart rate. It helps you keep in the right exercise band, and it also has a radio to keep you entertained. Now, climbing machines aren't everyone's first choice, but it's such a good form of exercise because climbing stairs is such a natural action. You're all right, aren't you?
Oh, fine. No problem. Fighting fits my little name.
Now, to get the best out of a climber, you've got to make short, sharp, rapid steps. How do you feel about the cross-country ski machine next?
Good idea. Why not?
It is quite demanding, though, you know.
That's why not. How about a demonstration?
Oh, I thought you might ask that. Right. The good thing about these is it's just like rowing. It's quite good for people that are already quite fit. So that makes it aerobic exercise or
cardiovascular
exercise. Come on then, Rob, let's do some simple strength exercises. Come on, let's pump some weights. You can do it.
Ooh. All these weights, these benches and things, they do roughly the same job, don't they?
You're right, Rob, they do. The differences are mainly in terms of flexibility and variety. Now, the free weights and bench sets are often brought by people who, don't have enough money or the space for the big multi-gyms. With free weights, it helps to have more of an understanding of what the exercises do. They need a bit more self-discipline and probably someone else there for safety, like I'm standing here behind you. But the end result, though, it's pretty much the same. There are weights on the market for just about everybody, men, women, old, young, highly stressed executives, and people who want to add more resistance to their aerobic workouts. But I know what you've been waiting for, the multi-gym. Come on, Rob, on you get. Okay, Rob, if you want to put your arms behind the panels there and just press the weight machine in, working the upper arm and the pecs. That's great. But the best way to tone muscles is by many repetitions using weights that you can handle without undue strain. And one of the great things about a multi-gym is it's so flexible and safe too. Now, if the cable does break, the weight stack actually takes all the impact, so no weights falling on your neck or your chest or even through the floor for that matter. Your customers will be using strength exercises for different reasons. People who want to tone up will go for lots of low-intensity moves. If you want to build bulk, nothing personal, Rob, but then you use some smaller sets of high-intensity lifting. Weight training isn't just for bodybuilders and weightlifters, People involved in all sorts of physical activities, particularly sports, really benefit from improved muscle tone and strength. So that's it, Rob. The Fitness Collection. Different equipment, but simple principles. Now, your role is to find out how fit your customer is by asking about their lifestyle and the physical activities and sports that they're involved in. Then find out how fit they want to be by asking them what their ultimate objectives are. Find out what activities they know best or enjoy the most. Then make your considered judgment. You may know all the jargon there is, but when a customer comes in, don't blind them with science. Aerobic exercise improves the performance of the body's engine, and that's the heart. Anaerobic exercise builds and tones muscle and helps reshape the body.
Simple as that?
As simple as that, Rob. Come on, you've done well.
Well, thanks, Suzanne. It's been really good of you to show me around.
No problem, Rob. But listen, we've been talking about your customers. What's it going to be for you? Weight training, bodybuilding, aerobic workout?
Well, Suzanne, in my job, I'm on my feet 8 hours a day, so that keeps me pretty fit.
I'm glad to hear it, because you've got to be fit for the job.